First of all, cheers. I'll see you at the after party, hopefully. Now, is screen mirroring going to work? That's the first thing. While we're waiting for that to switch on, so everybody starts these things generally with like an about me slide, but I'm going to start this with a bit of demo. Hopefully, if we can get this to work. Can everybody cross their fingers for me? Oh, drum roll, please. Hey! Look at that. Thank you very much to the tech guy here. Beautiful. Right then. So, what I have for you is a beautiful application. As you can see, very, very tasty. Very, very nice. Oh, this is going to work. Nice. So, we have our three products. You can tell all this app was written by ChatGPT. So, don't worry, this talk is also about AI. We've got certain products, want to come back, pair, things go this shaped often, and there you go. So now quickly, let's just do a bit of a login, because we need that to do anything. Get prompted for that. Now, of course, this talks about cross-site scripting, if you couldn't tell from the title. And in fact, rather sneakily, if I refresh this, you can see we've actually just stolen the username and password I injected into that application using a tool that I will be one is for free on GitHub, woohoo, love open source, and secondly, I will be demoing properly a little bit later. However, more excitedly is that the payload's actually still running in this site. It's just running in a way that's pretty invisible. Now, let's get to the actual meat and potatoes of this. This is No More Alert 1, which is exploring novel data exfiltration techniques, but more specifically exploring how you actually exploit cross-site scripting. Who here knows what cross-site scripting is? Excellent. That makes the first couple of slides completely obsolete, but you're going to have to sit through them anyway. But first, who am I? I'm a senior penetration tester at KPMG, dual check team leader. I also recreationally enjoy whisky, a bit of a JavaScript enthusiast, and I have been described as a semi-professional rascal. I'm still not sure whether to take that one as a compliment or not, but it's on the screen anyway. You can find Twitter, GitHub, LinkedIn, or you can even email me. I prefer cat pictures, but we'll also take technical questions. I'll try and answer them as well. So the agenda, we've got some basics, we've got rant number 1, we've got some self-therapy for me, which is actually the reason I wrote this talk. Then rant number 2, I know you get 2 of them, you're very lucky people. Then hopefully we'll do a bit of a poll, you'll see why I've converted people. And then we've got some questions at the end. Now, quick question, who here's a pen tester? Right, yeah. So I'm looking at these 3 people in the front row. I know are testers, and they're not putting their hands up. Audience participation works a lot better if you actually participate. So, who's a pen tester? Lovely stuff. Who here's exploited cross-site scripting before? There's people who weren't pen testers that put their hands up there. That's where's the NICSC when you need them? There's some arrests to be making at the back of the room. Who here goes any further than just popping alert 1 or occasionally alert document.cookie? Yeah, a little bit further than that? Okay, lovely. So the basics of this are, as we're covering, beautiful. So this is, again, that's my dodgy app that I wrote in the background. This is about as far as most people go, especially when you're doing a pen testing report. There you go. It's old reliable. Alert 1, you've demonstrated that you can inject arbitrary code into a page and get it to execute. It's all very well and happy. Screenshots like this have appeared in pen testing reports for many, many years, and I'm sure they will continue to after this talk. However, sometimes you want to spice things up. You want to make it even better. So we go for document.domain. You want to prove that it's executing actually on the domain. You haven't just done some funkiness in the console, right? So this is quite interesting. Used quite often on bug bounties, I found from reading them. But anyway, again, it's a little bit spicier. It shows a little bit more information, but we're still not really doing anything, are we? So demonstration does not equal exploitation. So who here has ever used Metasploit? Lovely. Slot this one back in there for you. Lovely. So who here's used the check function on Metasploit? You want to know something's vulnerable before you actually fire off your exploit. There's half a hand. Oh no, he's fully put his hand up now. Nicely done, mate. Great. So we know what that is. That's what Alert 1 is. Alert 1's using the check function. It's demonstrating the vulnerability exists, but you're not really exploiting it. Right? And as you say, demonstration does not equal exploitation. And especially when you're trying to put this in context for clients, it becomes very important that you have that knowledge of how you exploit it. Everyone knows Eternal Blue. It's a remote code execution. You gain control of the device. Everyone's really happy about that. Now, because we've exploited that, we can articulate that very, very easily, especially in our pen testing reports. You put the big critical at the top. You're like, this is like 8 years old now. Why haven't you patched this? You get very cross at them, the whole 9 yards. But if you'd only ever run the check function, would you know that? Well, potentially not. So, from the spice. We'll get back to this. I think these slides are slightly out of order. I blame the beer. Let's go to round the first. So this actually talk kind of came about because we're hiring at the moment. I don't know if we're allowed to say that, but we are. And as part of that, we're hiring for web testers, right? Everyone loves a good application test. We do a lot of application tests where I work. We need some web testers. And I was interviewing several of these people, and I asked them, what can you do with cross-site scripting? And they say, oh, well, you can steal cookies. I'm like, yeah, you can, but what if there's like a HTTP only flag set on the cookie? And they went, oh, that completely fixes cross-site scripting. Oh dear. So this incensed me somewhat, and we went back and forth about this. I was like, well, are you sure there's nothing more you can do with it? No, that's it. That's the vulnerability. Vulnerability. That is difficult to say at 5 o'clock. Vulnerability has been fixed, but it obviously hasn't. So, I bought time. I thought, why not subject a captive audience such as yourself to 20 minutes of me talking about JavaScript and the magic things you can do with it? And so, thus, you're all here. Thank you very much for coming. And, okay, here's some also little-known facts about JavaScript before we get on to some of the kind of slightly more demonstration-y parts of it. The path of a URL is controllable client-side using history.replaceState. So what you see in the URL may not actually be where you are on the application. Lots of kind of single-page apps use this now to make it look like you've navigated somewhere, or to be able to actually send links to your application and have them work. The same origin policy. My colleague Gr4y Turner did an excellent talk explaining exactly how you can mess around with the same origin policy, so I won't repeat his work here, but effectively it stops two things from different origins talking to one another. It's designed to stop nasty people like myself from dicking around with your applications. But pages from the same origin can talk to one another. And JavaScript is cool. It was written by drunk engineers, but it can do some very cool, funky stuff. So, if we go back to here. Now, what's actually happened, the demo at the start, what happened is when I clicked on Apple, we rendered this page, and if this is working for me, is this a comment? This is a big comment. Can we see that, or is that a bit small?
Really small.
It's really small. Okay. Can I get the keyboard shortcuts to work on this? No. That doesn't work for the dev tools. That's not good. Anyway, there's a script here with a source that's pointing back and loading in content. What that payload does is it takes the content of the page, injects it into an iframe. There's a little bit of JS that runs every time the location of the iframe updates. It updates the page at the top. So you can see we're actually still running here, and the page at the top is updating, even though we are still within the iframe. Never left it. Still clicking around in it. I appreciate it's a bit small. Sorry about that. But again, still hasn't left it. And all it does is it iterates through every time we reload the page, finds any forms, reassigns the onSubmit function to post data back to our listener, and then actually rebuilds the form and submits it for you. So The user isn't presented with any visual feedback that their application isn't working, but we steal all the data. This will actually work on any form that you want, and it'll ignore CSRF tokens as well. As you can see, the form we captured did have a CSRF token in. It was correctly submitted. The application of the backend server, because this is all happening client-side, just seems valid CSRF token and all the valid fields. Everyone's happy. And we're really happy because we've stolen a username and password, and that feels cool. There are some other things you can do with XSS, though. Let's clear all our interactions there, just payloads, hijack some downloads. So instead of serving hijack forms, let's hijack downloads instead. Save. Lovely. Switching between Windows and Mac all day, it's not working very well for me. So now, let's try that again. So again, now we've loaded it. We haven't clicked on Apple yet, so we've not got anything firing in the background. So if we click download here, file to download 10, I've been testing this all afternoon, if you couldn't tell. We get, this is an example file for download. Let's just zoom in on that. So we can see that's the sample file. Now, Apple, download, it's called the same thing. We've seen we've actually hijacked the content of that file and not presented again. There's nothing visual to a user that would let them know. So if that had been a Cobalt strike beacon, you click on a download link for a Word document, and 3 pages ago I've got my XSS payload firing, suddenly I've got my beacon. And then UFSOC is having a really bad day, trying to figure out where that came from. Lovely. Now, play this again. So the tool you saw there is called Kinetic Control. It is available for free on GitHub. It has a lot of those payloads built in. In fact, it has one of my favourite payloads ever built in. I'm not sure the world is quite ready for exactly how cool this payload is, but if you'll bear with me, it's simply called Spicy. Any guesses what Spicy does? No? Please don't. If that ends up in any pen testing reports, first of all, I love you, and secondly, please don't let your boss find out that I was the one that pointed you in the direction of this, because it'll probably get me in a lot of trouble. I may have used that before in a demo to a client, allegedly. But that's the kind of idea. There's some other kind of payloads you've got on here. Obviously, you've got your standard alert cookies and things. There will be some more coming as well, and I'll redesign the interface because it's currently a bit ugly. But I'm not a front-end dev or a designer, and ChatGPT only took me so far. So, lovely. Rant the second. There isn't really a second rant here. The idea being that you can... Cross-site scripting is very, very cool, and hopefully most of the people in the room now understand some of the things you can do with it, but you can also do more than that. Are there any red teamers in the room? Nice. 1. That's more than usual. Oh, 2, maybe? Lovely. You can also do like local port scans and kind of scan internal networks using cross-site scripting, using checking JavaScript browsers. There's been some research into people that have been able to do that. But the point is that XSS is really cool, and you can do loads and loads of really cool things with it. You can do a kind of myriad of attacks. So the next time you see alert 1 in a report, or you pop alert 1 on a pen test, or a pen test report submitted to you, you see that. Now you understand exactly how damaging that can be. Now, obviously, we've operated on the understanding that we found one first, but cross-site scripting vulnerabilities are pretty common. Even today, I'm a pen tester myself for my sins, and I routinely find XSS vulnerabilities. Most of the time, it's not script alert 1 anymore. The payloads are getting a bit more complicated. You now actually have to try, as opposed to just active scanning stuff, which is a crying shame. But you can still pull off things like this. And if your application has any functionality, even if the cookies are appropriately secured, or it's even if it's unauthenticated and it's just offering downloads, now hopefully you understand exactly what you can do with one of the oldest vulnerabilities in the book. Now, I'm going to do another poll. Who here thought XSS was a bit boring when I started? Who now thinks XSS... You can put your hand up, don't worry. I'm not going to shout at you because you're in the front row. Who now thinks XSS is really cool is going to go off and talk about it lots. You put your hand up first and not now. That's horrible. That's horrific. God damn. Soul destroying this. Lovely. Well, in which case, thank you very much for coming. And do we have any questions? Silence. Tumbleweed. Lovely. Well, in which case, thank you. Oh, no, maybe one?
Have you used web pockets to just exploit the error on the apps and have a
Yes. WebSockets are famously full of holes, and I do enjoy tearing them apart. They're very good fun. Any more for any more? Do you not have any more time? Okay, I'm really sorry. In which case, you can come and chat to me. Thank you very much for coming. And see you in the afternoon.